All right, all you integrative and functional and holistic and regenerative practitioners with amazing health companies that specialize in root cause resolution. Today's episode, we have the phenomenal Deepa Deshmukh with us. And when I say phenomenal, well, let's just go ahead. We can give a little spoiler alert, Deepa, on what just happened. If you don't mind, I'm going to show this real quick. And this is something you just posted in a group yesterday. And so doing all the work has paid off. And you got 3 people in, and it looks like for $8,000 total?
That is correct.
That is amazing. And I think what I really want to do here is I want to highlight that Deepa is a registered dietitian. She's not originally from America. She's got a really amazing journey and story to tell about that journey coming to America and what's happened here. But she's also done something really cool with her business, and she's broken free of the standard transactional model that a lot of dietitians and nutritionists and functional and integrative experts find themselves in. So Deepa, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. And let's just start with, you're not from America.
No, I thank you so much, Adam, first of all, for the opportunity and making me part of your journey. So I've been in US since 1993. I am originally from India, from a town close to Mumbai, where the Bollywood, where all the fancy stuff is happening. And I came here in 1993, really not knowing the language or the culture, and newly married. So it was all in all, it was a interesting experience. But from very get-go, I knew that nutrition and public health is something I was interested in. I have a degree in food science and nutrition, and because of my visa status where I was not allowed to work, I just started volunteering at a hospital, a local hospital in Boston. And it was an eye-opening experience. First of all, I got to see what the food situation at the hospitals was. And believe it or not, this whole food and sickness got into my head so much that I started noticing disparities in our system. For example, I used to do some classes for the homeless people, and the kind of food that the homeless people were getting, canned vegetables and fruit cups. And people in the hospital where I was volunteering, they were also getting the same kind of food. And I started noticing how is this possible that everybody eats the same thing, and people just seemed a little sick to me.
Yeah, very sick. So you came in 1993, married, didn't speak English. And if I remember right, you taught yourself English, right?
Yes, I watch a lot of PBS cooking videos. There was there was a cooking series called Yan Can Cook.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Can Cook. Yeah,
and Yan Can Cook was this Chinese chef with lot of energy, and he had an accent, and I resonated with him. And then I watched a lot of Julia Child. I watched everything on PBS because that's the only channel you get when you don't have cable. So I kind of immersed myself in the culture here and learned the language. And I think I was meant to get into food and nutrition, and then one thing led to the other, and here I am after 30 years and being 18 years in practice, pretty much on my own since I graduated.
Well, happy 30th anniversary of being in the United States. First of all, I didn't realize, it just clicked in my head, 30 years. Wow, that's amazing. And so 18 years ago, you started your practice. So you saw the disparities in food. You saw that everybody was eating the same thing, whether it was being handed to them for free or if they were actually in the hospital. People were not feeling well, still sickness, a lot of stuff going on out there. We could talk about that all day long. But what was it that made you say, I want to be a registered dietitian?
So I had a degree in food science and nutrition, so that was my background. And I felt that coming from a developing country to a developed country, that's what United States is, and just seeing the amount of food in the grocery stores and around me, I felt that this healthcare system probably knows more than what I learned. And how do I kind of learn the new way of eating? Because when you first come to US, everything looks very fancy, everything looks so different, and there is perception that if it looks different or if it looks fancy, it has to be better.
Right.
And that is what. And then I started looking at options, and the only way to practice nutrition back then was to become a registered dietitian. So that's what led me to go back to school here with one thing, that these guys they probably know how to apply nutrition in clinical practice. Even though in the hospital I didn't see as much, I felt that maybe, just being a volunteer, I don't know what these fancy dietitians are doing, behind my back, and maybe I need to learn what they are doing. So that led me to go to school and become an RD.
Okay. So registered dietitian, you started up your practice. And I remember when we first chatted, because what we're really highlighting here is how you've installed an impact-driven profit system into your practice, right? Where you're going to get really great results with the people you're working with, but also you're saving them a lot of money over traditional healthcare because they're getting great results, and you're boosting your profit margin in your take home, right? But it wasn't always like that, was it?
No. See, I was very naive on many different ways. I thought, oh my God, I have learned this nutrition. Now I have this nutrition degree, and I got my first job at a hospital, local hospital. It was inpatient dietitian's job, and 3 days, pretty much. That's how I lasted there, because I saw that how am I supposed to talk to a person who had just had a heart attack? First of all, about nutrition, and how am I supposed to tell him don't eat those hamburger and fries, which the hospital's cafeteria has just brought it to him. And this whole operation has been overseen by my dietitian boss. So.
My mother recently had a knee replacement surgery, and afterwards they brought her a giant bowl of inflammation.
Exactly.
Right afterwards. And I was just like, she's not going to eat that. Thank you very much.
Correct. Exactly. So I said, I can function in that. So I told my boss, I don't think this is the right setting for me. 3 days. Then on the floor, I saw there was another dietitian. She had something called CDE next to her name after RD. So I asked her, I said, Aarti, what is this CDE means? She said, oh, that means you are a certified diabetes educator. I said, how do you become that? She said, well, it's an exam and you need to work with diabetic patients for a year. I said, where do you work? She said, oh, this hospital has a diabetes center. Would you like to join, because I'm going on leave? I said, sure. So I started working at a diabetes center. 2 things happened. I got phenomenal training by one nurse and 2 dietitians. Okay, in terms of the clinical side of managing diabetes. And there was a stack of books, okay, that every diabetes educator used to refer to. And on that stack of books, there was another dietitian's name who wrote the curriculum, and that had credentials called BCADM. So I looked at what that dietitian was doing, and she said, oh, BCADM is board certified in advanced diabetes management. I made a note of it. But then what used to happen, we used to see patients with diabetes, but at noon, we had all these pharmaceutical companies bring in the sandwiches and the soups and the brownies and, all that stuff along with different medications. And then I started saying, well, this is a slightly better setting where at least I get to talk to a patient while he's not eating the burger and fries, but on the back end, everybody in the kitchen is eating the same unhealthy food. So there's again this disconnect,
Yes.
between what we are learning and practicing and preaching and just and I don't know. I lasted there for year and a half or so, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to open my practice. Well, that was a interesting experience.
Yeah, the American dream, right? Opening your own business.
Oh my God. And I said, well, I see so many patients who are sick, and they apparently have insurance. And I should just call the insurance and ask them, hey, there's a dietitian. And by that time, I went after educating myself. So I was RD, I had finished my master's in public health, I became that CDCS, diabetes educator. I went ahead and did my BCADM, which very, very few RDs used to do it back then, and I think still do. I felt gathering knowledge is going to somehow solve the problem.
Right.
And then I started my practice. And I called the insurance companies. I said, hey, there's dietitians and diabetes educators, and, people get better when we talk to them. They said, who? We don't need dietitians. We don't even know who you guys are. We cover Weight Watchers, we cover Slim Fast Cans, we cover Pediasure and other whatever medically monitored diets, but there is no coverage for dietitian services.
Really?
Yes.
So you went to try to get insurance and they denied you?
Of course, as a provider, they didn't even know who dietitians were.
Wow. Okay.
And I said, how is this even possible? And at that time, I had met another dietitian through the local dietitian network. Her name is Victoria. And Victoria and I were just hanging at one event together. And she said, Deepa, this whole thing just doesn't make sense. We need to do something about this insurance business. So I said, what are you doing? And she said, I work for VA and, but I want to get into private practice. I said, let's do it together. So we got a small little place. And I said, anyway, I've been calling these insurance companies. They are denying me. And every insurance company had them. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Humana, Aetna, United Healthcare.
Which is crazy because if you're a registered dietitian in the hospital, you're covered.
But see, what they cover in the hospital is not preventative.
Yeah.
It is just a treatment. It's just a Band-Aid.
Got it.
There's absolutely not much impact on the long-term mortality or the survival rate of the patient. So every day, I would sit there and call these insurance companies hoping that some person, some rep, somebody I would get through. And 6 months into it, I ended up talking to one person at Aetna, and she said, you know what, you should talk to our medical director. And I said, all right. And she immediately connected to me, to this particular doctor. Stars were aligned after 6-8 months. And this medical director said, oh, this is interesting because Aetna has a policy to cover nutrition education and medical nutrition therapy, but no dietitian has ever contacted us. So you would be the first one.
Wow.
And so I went through the paperwork, literally a stack of paperwork, really not knowing how the contracts are written and what the hell I was doing, Yeah. and even how to bill, because nobody knew around me how to bill for dietitian's visits. So I learned how to do the billing. And then, believe it or not, after that, United Healthcare, I said, hey, Aetna has it, there has to be a way. So it was, again, no different than what you guys are teaching everybody consistency. Consistently, I kept calling the insurance companies. One of the reasons why I like your program is you say, forget what's happening with the calls and leads. You consistently put your work in, and it will happen. So for so many months, I kept calling different insurance companies, and then we got on board with United Healthcare and Humana, and it took me 10 to 12 years to get on the panel with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois.
Wow.
But by that time, there was a loophole that Blue Cross Blue Shield had for dietitians that, if they don't include the dietitians in their network, then they have to cover for the dietitian as an out of network provider. So
now you said you first moved, when you first came to America, you moved to Boston, but then you moved to Illinois, and that's where you started your practice?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So that was my insurance experience, and it definitely kept me in business, because remember, 18 years ago, people were not so aware of self-care and nutrition. And on top of that, I'm practicing gut health focused nutrition, and I'm asking people to eat I'm recommending how to eat beans and lentils and how to cook with spices. I had a product line called cumin and clove, where we did some mixes, like, I did a grain blend which had quinoa and millet and a couple of different Indian lentils with spice pack. But that was 2009. People didn't know what quinoa was. They didn't know what turmeric was.
That's crazy. You were talking about just a decade ago.
Literally.
I mean, 18 years ago, 2005, like, you're right. Like, wellness and like all this stuff was like, I mean, there were small pockets of it.
Of course.
But not like it is now.
Not at all. And the food, now everybody knows what turmeric is, and everybody, even McDonald's has quinoa salad. But it was 2007, 8, that's when I had my product line, and ahead of time problem again. But I learned about food manufacturing. I learned about just, different things. But there's only so much I could do, because I was fighting the insurance fight. I was trying to introduce the raising family, all that, So
and how much, just out of curiosity, like before you found Move, Think, Smile, like what were you getting on average per client, per patient? Like what was the reimbursement on insurance on that?
So the insurance reimbursement varies anywhere between 110 to sometime 170, 80 dollars per patient for a 1 hour session.
Okay. So, all right. So let's just call it an even 140.
Correct.
Right. So if you want to, and of course you've got your overhead. And so what was your profit margin at that time?
The profit margin really depended. It was a little tricky to even figure that out, because first of all, there were no other dietitians in private practice. I didn't know what to market. I couldn't find another dietitian. My partner, co-founder Victoria, then had to move out of state. So then the whole thing was on me. So I would say the profit margin was probably 50%.
Maybe 50%. So if in order to do $100,000 in revenue, you would have to do 714 billable hours.
Correct.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, and it's a lot of work. And, if you are working on behavior change and the nuances of people falling off the wagon and, bringing them back, even though many times, and that's another thing, is quite a few times these new dietitian services were completely covered by the, and anything free sometimes is not taken seriously.
Yes.
So I was getting very frustrated with that.
Okay. So the people on the insurance plan where it was getting paid for, but being paid for by somebody else, they weren't what would you say? Were they non-compliant or not following protocol or not taking it seriously?
All the above.
Okay. All right. So you're getting out there, you're doing your work. And I just realized in order to hit $100,000, and if you're at 50% profit margin, which is good, you still have to do 1,430 billable hours in order to take home 100K.
Correct.
That's a lot of time. So that's, if you work every week of the year, no vacation, that's almost 28 hours a week in billable hours that you have to put in. This does not include running your company or the admin or the accounting or any of that stuff.
It's a lot of work. And the if you don't work, you don't make money.
Yes.
Correct. So that monkey is always on the back.
Yeah.
And many times I said, oh, I should just work for somebody. I wish I could because I see all my people around me, they have PTOs and they go on vacation. And many times during the day, they are doing a lot of things that I feel I just
you wish you were doing. Yes. I can remember my days in the corporate world looking out the window going, why am I in this box? Why am I in this box? No, I understand that one for sure. All right. So just out of curiosity, did you have any cash-based patients?
Very few.
Very few. So they're all insurance-based. Most of them were not getting big transformations because everything was just handed to them. And just out of curiosity, what do you know what the lifetime value is for one person during a year? Like your annual worth? Like how many times would you see somebody on average?
That's another thing. People drop off after 3 visits. Some people drop off after 1 visit. Some people drop after 6 visits. So it's, see what happens is if you go after volume, then it's very difficult to maintain that volume.
Yeah.
Right? Because then maintaining the quality of follow-ups, the quality of care and, the amount of following up that requires and having some sort of a process to kind of get these people back in the door again, it's tedious. And you cannot force someone to make a change.
Correct.
You cannot force somebody to invest in their health. It has to come from within.
Oh yeah. Oh no, for sure. We that's our philosophy 100%. So if I hear you right, it sounds like on average, a client / patient, whatever we want to call them, their lifetime value was between $400 and $500.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is if we go back to what you just posted yesterday, right? It's like now the lifetime value immediately is you got 3 people. Look, sounds like you got the first 2 at 2.5K, so 2,500, and the next one you came in at 3. So it sounds like you're starting to get confidence in your pricing and getting where we want to be. And so we just went from a $400 to $500 maybe insurance-based system to people paying Deepa cash $2,500 and $3,000.
Yes.
And how did that happen?
So as I would, sometimes it's a curiosity can be a curse, right? You're constantly looking for things. I got my private practice. I said, oh, okay, once I have the insurance companies, I'm just going to have my head down and do my thing and be happy. Well, that didn't happen. I got myself into the food business, worked on it passionately. Feel, right? I'm sure you have.
Yes, I wasn't in food manufacturing. I was in action sports manufacturing before Moving Spa, but yes, I understand 100%.
Exactly. And then you feel, and it's not like I was chasing money or something. I just genuinely like to try different things and anything food and nutrition, I just get very excited about. So I tried food, and then what else? Then during this time, I had developed a niche market, target market, I can say, among gluten-free, allergen-free community. Okay. And in order to help them, and again, this whole thing started in 2008 or 9 when I got invited to speak at a conference. And it all literally started because I noticed that, the most nutritious food for gluten-free population are these non-gluten whole grains, ancient grains like quinoa and buckwheat and beans and lentils for protein sources, because at that time gluten-free people were really very, very deficient in so many nutrients because all the gluten-free products were processed.
Yeah.
So as part of that kind of journey, I ended up developing a lot of recipes. And I was looking for a platform to put those recipes in. And that's how I stumbled upon the Meal Garden guys. And,
And then we were working with them back at the time. Yeah. How did you come across Move Think Smile? And you're right. So, because I remember when we talked, you're like, hey, I'm doing this thing with Meal Garden, this app, and I'm trying to, build this thing, and I've got this thing going on. I've got a background in food manufacturing and all this stuff, and I've got my registered dietitian practice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, where do you really want to focus, or what is your real goal? And I remember, like, I want to change people's lives.
Correct. Absolutely. So I thought that, having those meal plans and creating a platform to sell that might be something where I don't have to be at the office all the time. And, that whole burnout that many patients, not patients, but the providers feel during this process.
Yep.
So I knew that there was something out there. And my knowledge or my recommendations have more worth than what I was getting back. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're telling people exactly what to do and they're not doing it.
Correct. And then pandemic happened, and during that time, I hired somebody because, believe it or not, during this time, even today, our practice is all word of mouth. Mm-hmm. I haven't even printed business cards in last 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Things just kept rolling, and reviews on the insurance website. So we do have these leads, but they are all insurance based. And I'm very grateful for that. I mean, I'm here today because of my patients, and that whole insurance model has worked for me. But I was looking for something. I needed extension to what I was doing.
Yes.
And when I saw something through the Meal Garden and your video, and then the rest is history.
Oh yeah, the workshop that we did with Meal Garden. Yeah, with Kiki Athanas and all that fun stuff. Yeah, that's super cool. And what's interesting, one question: what was your price if somebody did pay you cash? Like, what was your normal price that you bill, but the insurance company typically will pay less than what you bill?
So insurance has a contracted rate.
Yes.
Right? But if somebody were to pay out of their pocket, I would charge them even less.
Even less? Oh, wow.
Because I'll tell you why. Until I came to MTS, I did not know how to put value around what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I did not have the confidence to ask for $1,000 until I learned not only the confidence, but how you make us go through the
well, it's really how to communicate your true value.
Correct.
Yeah. It's really about, so anything you say in a conversation, or you write in an email, a postcard, an advertisement, a post, takes people from who the heck is this Deepa lady to Deepa, thank you so much for changing my life, and thank you for taking my credit card. But doing it in a very high integrity, ethical way. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely. And I just didn't have that training, because one thing that, Adam, really well is, during all this education about diseases and clinical training and all that, not a single class in marketing, in business, in communication. And that's why this problem exists for healthcare professionals.
Yeah, it's almost like it's funny because you're touching on something that Ellie and I were talking about the other day, and we were together for 20 years before we got married, and people are just like, "Why did you wait so long?" It's like, well, we wanted to get to know each other. We wanted to make sure it was going to work. I don't know, it just happened that way. But it's been phenomenal. And it's almost like when you go and you register for a business license or you register for an LLC, there should be a regulating body that goes, have you been trained on how to do this?
Correct.
Or are we going to have another, burned out basket case, tearing their hair out, all stressed out, having heart attacks and stress eating and stuff like this because the business isn't going the way it needs to be?
Exactly. Because having passion is one thing, which is very important, but having tools to convert that passion into something.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I'm extremely grateful the way things have worked out for me. But it is all work, and and thank God that I don't get stressed out and drive myself nuts, but I can see where it can really affect somebody's mental health. And I have seen people lose houses, and really, especially in the food business. When I was in the food business, small business and owners, my own friends and stuff, and in fact, to tell you the truth, because what I saw, what was happening, I got out of it, out of fear.
Oh, wow.
That, oh my God, I don't know how to do this.
Okay, so we've got the business, you've got referrals coming in. And I think this is really cool because a lot of people think they want to dump insurance. And honestly, and I'm going to share something from our public group, an integrative marketing functional business growth group, an article that I just put in here. This is the image, health insurance shortcut. But basically, it talks about how to turn insurance-based clients into high-value ones. Mm-hmm. And my recommendation for anybody out there that has insurance and you're just like, I'm sick of this stuff. Because I know a lot of like brick and mortar functional medicine practices, like they're either getting their rates super cut to where they charge $150, but they're getting maybe $40 an hour, which is just horrible. Or they're just getting claims denied. Or even worse, 6 months later, the insurance company is taking money back out of their account saying, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to pay you for that.
Or there are restrictions on the number of visits.
Or there's all kinds of restrictions, right? There's caps on everything. But the cool thing is, if you've got basically a marketing funnel, an insurance-based marketing funnel, leads are coming in, you can convert them to high-value clients, can't you, Deepa?
Absolutely. And that is exactly what happened with the last client. He probably saw me from the insurance panel or what have you. He came in as a lead, but his plea was so compelling because he had just had a stroke 3 weeks ago, AFib and stroke, and he is a lawyer. So he was very precise in what he has been through and what he was looking for. And you will not believe, when I get all my office communication text on my phone, and I was in the MTS, one of the sessions, when that came, and something told me that I should call him immediately. So I called him while this, while this sessions with you guys was going on. And because everything was so fresh in my mind, and I have been working on all the homework that Andrew has asked me to do about writing the copy and all that, it all just came together, and I signed him up on the phone.
And what was the price?
At that $3,000.
$3,000. $3,000. You just took the insurance-based model where that person, if you had not done this, would have been worth maybe $400 or $500, probably wouldn't have changed his life. Now he just paid you cash. Correct. Wow. And this person's got skin in the game. And do you think they're going to listen to what you say?
Yeah. And in fact, the aha moment from that call was that maybe I need to change my target market a bit. And that is what I'm working on.
Excellent.
I mean, I tend to have few things on the burner all the time. I'm not going to not leave my weight loss client and market and things like that. But I have a even more defined target market that I want to try now.
That's excellent. And what's really important about this, everybody watching, is that, when you have a business, when it comes to, we're talking about a couple of different things here. One, we're talking about, there's the marketing parts, like how do we get people walking in the door? Then we're talking about how you structure your service and your offerings and your pricing to make sure, first and foremost, they're getting the strongest results possible in the shortest period of time, right? While you have a healthy bottom line and you're not burning out working 90 hours a week trying to get that. And I was going to say, Deepa, that one of the cool things about this that you're doing is you really are going to tip the scales from sickness to wellness. But what would you say was like, we've been working for a little while on this. What would you say is that big, like, oh my gosh, this is working moment?
It's very easy to get distracted and feel that it's not working. But what I felt like last year, I had some traction. Okay. And then I don't know what happened. I stopped calling and I stopped enrolling people, or maybe I had few people who said no. So I kind of, it's not working. I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it more. And then I just drifted away. Then when you got me back into the support group, doing the work, and this time I said, you know what, I have to really put some more effort in really understanding it, and that think talk,
yep,
it's huge.
It's huge. And I think what's really important here to understand is that we're helping Deepa do this, but we're also making sure she's empowered so she understands how it works, because we may not always be around. I mean, gosh forbid I get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? So I think the difference here is, like, a lot of business owners, like, you got the leads coming in the door, right? You have to be concerned about marketing. Then you got to be concerned about the structure and the pricing and offering. Then you have to be concerned about sales. And even though nobody wants to talk about sales, when somebody says I'm interested, you have got to sell them. I mean, that's what you're doing. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure, tell me, Deepa, you tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, we want to remove the selling component. So even though technically we're selling, we're empowering that person using very specific techniques in a conversation for them to realize that it is more risky to stay where they are and not change than it is to work with you. It's less risky to hire you. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I was at a dermatologist office for something. Okay. And I saw this dermatologist, how she almost sold me, okay, variety of things which I don't need. And I'm not an impulsive buyer. I'm very careful. I think through. And how close I was, and it's all cosmetic. It is not saving my life. It is not doing anything groundbreaking for me,
Right.
But every surgeon, every doctor is selling you something. Okay. When they write that prescription where you have to pay $20 as a copay or whatever, he just sold you that prescription.
Yes.
And his salary includes that. Okay. The dermatologist is selling all kinds of skin treatment and hair treatment. And I mean, the dermatologist had guts to tell me I should grow my hair more. I mean, I have plenty of hair. And she was making such a compelling case, So they are selling a lot of things. We are at least genuine about selling what can potentially save a person's life.
Yeah, we are. The difference in the wellness industry, and when I say wellness industry, that is getting to the root cause of a disease or dysfunction, right? Typically caused by chronic lifestyle problems. And a lot of these things are really easy to fix. And I've talked to a lot of functional medical doctors who want to go after the hard stuff, but they also want to grow the revenue and profit margin on their business. I'm like, look, go for the low hanging fruit first, because that's going to be where your bread and butter is. And then you can focus on the hard stuff without having to worry about profit margins and all this other kind of thing. And what we do, Deepa, is, at least the way I said, we make people's lives easier. That's what we do. We give them better quality of life. We help them heal. We help them, let their body do what it needs to do. So they've got more energy. They're better parents. They're better colleagues and bosses and workers and friends and sons and daughters and cousins and all this kind of stuff. And they just become better people that just feel better. And of course, we're making the world a healthier place because every person we touch feels better, and that has a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to share with you, what I did with my that 2.5K patient who is an insurance patient, who is a Blue Cross Blue Shield patient. And I told her the cost of the program is $2,500. We will bill insurance up to 1,000 or whatever, 500. Yeah. Everything else is out of pocket.
And she said, okay.
And she said, okay.
Now, just out of curiosity, so the one you came in at 3,000, what are you fixing? Was it weight loss? Is it diabetes? What's the niche there?
So for 3K, for the lawyer, I'm fixing his heart health, his blood pressure.
Blood pressure, okay, hypertension.
Blood pressure, because he just had AFib and stroke.
Okay.
And what's really burning him is that the doctor's recommendation is to sit at home, and he can work only 4 hours and
do nothing. Basically do nothing.
Nothing. And he's a high achiever, super performing public service lawyers who helps men and women and small children who are dealing with water contamination issues and all that stuff. So he also has that good heart, and right. He's like, this is my calling. I cannot just sit at home when I know people are suffering, and I have to get back to my work. I mean, I got it.
Yeah, telling a lawyer to only work 4 hours a day is like giving a squirrel a Red Bull and saying, now I want you to lie in Shavasana pose.
Exactly. Exactly. And the other lady who signed up for 2.5K, and for which we are going to pay partially for insurance. And I told her that we will pay only for $500-700 for insurance, and rest is this. And she was fine. But again, blood pressure and weight loss.
Nice. So we got a couple different people are coming in, all with slightly different health problems, right? Which can all be fixed by lifestyle and behavior change.
Correct.
Lifestyle and behavior change. And now what I get, a lot of people are wondering right now, it's like, okay, so are you still working with them on one-on-one? Like, how are you structuring your programs now?
That's an interesting question, and I'm trying to figure it out as well. So right now it is one-on-one, and then I'm digitalizing quite a few things on the back end.
Okay. So you're working with them and you're building things as you're working with them. So correct. As new people come in, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you can still get them the same result, but without having to spend as much time with them.
Exactly. So I mean, how your MTS, those modules and all those things are, I'm kind of using that as a program structure, but then for perfect. Nutrition, I'm adding the picture-based meal logs and stuff like that.
Nice.
on the back end, yeah. to kind of create more personalized experience. I also want to share something with you because of this Think Talk training. I recently reached out to a healthcare organization, okay, and send them an email, cold email, kind of unraveling their health and, going through the heavens and those type of things. And he reached out. He said, yeah, that's what we are looking for.
So you used the Think Talk process to do a cold outreach to an organization.
Yeah. to a
They
CEO of
responded.
a
Congratulations. This is awesome. So for everybody listening, Think Talk is a process we refer to. It's a proprietary copywriting process to really communicate your true value by simply talking like people think, like what's really resonating in the back of their head. And if you've ever taken formal English like I did in all my schooling and high school and master's degrees and all the graduate school and all this kind of stuff, it breaks literally every grammatical rule in the book. So if you show this to an English professor or English teacher, they're going to give you an F right away. But what it does is it gets people to respond.
Correct. And he is a CEO of an healthcare organization.
That's excellent. Congratulations.
I was contemplating, should I go more clinical? I mean, I did add some clinical stuff.
Yeah.
But I use the same strategy. So what I'm saying is, you can, once you learn this skill, you can, I'm going to go B2B, you know, maybe employer groups or, you know, employee wellness, all that. So I have a huge dream list here. What can I say?
I love it. I love it. Let's do a quick recap. So you came to America in 93. You taught yourself English by watching Yank and Cook on PBS. That's phenomenal. I love it. And you solved the disparity in food in the hospital and the homeless system, became a registered dietitian, got into Illinois, started your practice, basically one of the first people to start taking insurance as a registered dietitian. Your practice has been built on it ever since, but you've realized that it's a time consuming model. You're trading time for money. And in order to make that kind of money, the money you deserve, if you're changing people's lives, you got to put in almost 1,500 hours a year just to even kind of like hit that 100 grand mark. Meanwhile, you have no life outside of work.
Correct.
And are you really changing lives? And the answer is, well, in your experience for 18 years, no, you're not, because most people don't follow through.
Correct.
And simply by changing how you communicate with people, how you have a conversation with them, and communicating your true impact, you've now got what we call an impact-driven profit system that's changing people's lives.
Yes.
In a significantly, well, if you're at 400 to 500 and you're doing $3,000, that is 600% higher lifetime revenue, 6x than what you were doing.
Exactly. And the beauty of this model is, remember, you did the calculation that instead of saying 750 billable hours, it can be a fraction of that.
It can be a fraction of that.
Right.
That's
so
awesome.
The math is right there. I
That's
don't
awesome.
even need 10 people a month because
Right,
I have other things to pursue.
Yes.
Yes.
So for all the other nutritionists and registered dietitians out there, or anybody else working in the wellness space that has an insurance-based system, what piece of advice could you give them?
The insurance system model is good as a foundation, but on top of that, we bring a lot of value, which can be offered in between the appointments. See, insurance works only when you see patient face to face. Only then the insurance pays. Here, we can provide value where I don't have to invest 1 hour with the patient, but I can maybe send him a video. I can send him a audio recording of what I want to do, and that can be repeatable. Yes. And that person is going to get that guidance and support in between the appointments, which is what is crucial. And then the compliance is going to be better, as well as the whole return on investment in terms of his outcomes and our time and everything.
Well, I guarantee that you're going to go from a single-digit success rate to a probably almost triple-digit success rate with these 3 new people that have just come in. And that's really, really awesome. So anybody out there that is looking for support on how to do this, on how to install an impact-driven profit system, I invite you to come over to movethinksmile.com/DEMO, demo. And what we'll do is we'll basically share the frameworks that we use with our clients like Deepa. And it doesn't matter if you've got an insurance-based system or if you're a cash-based system, it's really how to get out of that transactional model, right? How to increase the profit margins, how to increase the lifetime value, all while transforming lives, increasing the success rate of these people, which is really, because if we're not changing lives, it doesn't matter, does it?
No, I mean, you are and you are not. You know what I mean? But there is more that can be done. And one thing I would like to tell my colleagues is that as much as we think we can do it, you cannot do this on our own. We do not know what to do. We just haven't gotten that training, and we just don't, without the support, you cannot do this. This is no different than we helping the patient to lose weight. Every patient feels, oh, I can lose weight by reading a book. Oh, I can lose weight. They cannot do it until they get a professional help. That's what our business is all about. So similarly, we have zero knowledge about marketing and writing copy and everything else that I have learned. So please, let's get our head out of the sand and say, yes, we need help and invest.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, it's more than marketing. And I think, Deepa, that you realize that, everybody in your business is marketing all the time, right? Every time you talk to somebody, you're marketing. Every time somebody asks about insurance claims, you're marketing. And like I said, whether you have a cash-based business or you have an insurance-based business, if you want to really get out there, tip the scales from sickness to wellness and save people, each person up to $162,500 over the next 10 years over sick care, just managing and mitigating their symptoms, which is the statistic that the Center of Disease Control is putting out there, that out of pocket, people are spending almost 17 grand a year managing diseases and mitigating diseases instead of fixing them. You could put that money back into someone's pocket. Plus, you can easily add a giant chunk to your bottom line and free up your time so you can have more time with the family. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely.
So come on over to movethinksmile.com/Jim, get on the calendar. And just real quick, like, how was it working with Ellie and Andrew? I mean, they're really difficult, aren't they?
Too difficult. I said to Andrew today, he said, oh my God, you were supposed to be on the call. You are not there. I said, yeah, you give me homework and then I lose track of time. So you are to be blamed for, for me doing homework, and you are to be blamed for getting me all these clients. No, what can I say about the MTS team? I mean, everybody, you were the first point of contact for me, and then Elia and Andrew and Robin in the past. You all have helped me, and this is a teamwork, and I couldn't have been appreciative, grateful for you guys being patient with me, because sometimes I just asked so many questions, and it's like jillionth time Elia has to say the things that she has said it so many times, but I think somehow it clicks and it's working. So I'm very grateful.
You're welcome. Well, I mean, it's repetition, right? It's just like when you're teaching somebody how to eat properly, they will probably ask you 50 or 60 times. It's like, are you sure I can't have a French fry? You're like, don't put the poison in your face, right?
I know.
It's repetition, and you've been phenomenal to work with. And I have to say, in building a lot of the things and installing a lot of the stuff and seeing a lot of the copy you're written and seeing, a lot of the videos that you've created, that you have your confidence has really gotten amazing. You're a go-getter. You get out there when we say, hey, this is what we want to do. You're like, I'm going to do it. And you do it.
There's no way out of it. There's no way out of it. And another thing is, I'm not going to sit here worried about how my call is going to go. The call will go based on what I'm doing. That is another thing that I noticed.
Exactly. Well, Deepa, it's phenomenal. We are not done yet. So here's to the first 3 clients and that first $8,000 in revenue with just 3 people. I'm not even going to calculate how many hours you would have. Instead of 80 hours of billable hours, you got 3 people. So this is really cool. I definitely don't think you're going to have to work 80 hours to match that.
No, definitely not.
All right, everybody, come on over to movethinksmile.com/demo if you'd like to learn more. And if you're open to seeing if there's an alignment, it's very, very laid back. Like I said, we'll share with you the frameworks, the integrative marketing and functional business growth frameworks of how we go in. We look at how do we restructure the business to make sure your clients and patients are getting great results and you got a really healthy bottom line. How do we change up the messaging and make sure you're communicating your true value and your impact? Do we even need to do marketing? And in Deepa's case, not really. Like, she's got leads coming in already. We just need to learn how to optimize those basically acres of diamonds already flowing out your door. And then, of course, the enrollment conversation, which is always the funnest part, right? It's like, okay, how do I have this conversation? And then how do I say 1,000? Right. All right, everybody. Come on over to moveThinkSmile.com/demo and we'll talk soon.